It would help if I unmuted myself. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I'm the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco. Gladiator Guru will be here shortly. She did say that she had, she texted me and said that she would be about 10 minutes late. So she'll be here in about 6 minutes, and we're going to time her. So good morning, Milagros. Hola. Happy that you're here. Let me just get situated here on Facebook. It looks like for once we actually started properly with, let's see. Let's hold on a moment. I'm getting there. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. Okay, there we go. We are now on and I am live and here we are. So happy Tuesday. Welcome. It is the first Tuesday of the show in June, and welcome to Get Ready, Set, Go month. This is the month to take action. We were building up for this and we are very, very excited about this. Plus mid-month, Gladiator Guru will return and she will be sharing stories of what she's learned throughout the Camino. So I believe she has, let me see, we have 2 more weeks, this week and next week, where she will be in Spain, and then she will be back with us. So fantastic, wonderful. We're all happy that you are here. Good morning, Madeline. Good morning, Gail Kraft. And Gladiator Guru will be here shortly. She did text me ahead of time and told me that she was running behind schedule. Just want to remind people to like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Please don't forget. We would really appreciate that. And God, I'm looking at myself and I am, here we go. I think that's better. I look so fake. I have no idea why. Like, I look all creamy looking. But anyway, we hope that you had an absolutely fantastic weekend. Let me know what you did over the weekend. Let me know how you ended your May weekend. Well, actually, it was the beginning of June. But let us know, what did you push for? What came to your mind to say, this is what I want to focus my attention on. This is what I want to be intentional about. This is my purpose. This is the direction I'm going. I want to share with you some of the things that I did. And again, it's part of the bigger picture, right? So I have a lot of moving parts to what I'm creating over here. And and some of them are time sensitive. Some of them are completely governed by, all of them are time sensitive, but some of them are governed by, manpower, ability, and weather, And so we've been blessed here with some really, really phenomenal weather. And, I have been looking to be a farmer here, so I created a garden with the help of my next door neighbor who helped plow it and till it. And I had been sitting waiting for the weather because it had been raining and I couldn't do a last till, and then finally put the beds together or the rows together, and finally got the last bit of things planted. And we are behind schedule, but luckily the growing season is longer here. So that's one little hurdle that gets done, and then you go on. So you check that box off, The question is that when you have a lot going on, how much have you pushed yourself? How much, like, we have a tendency to say, well, I've got a lot going on. I feel a little overwhelmed. I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this today. And then sometimes you don't feel like doing that. Sometimes you have to be mentally prepared to do certain things. Sometimes you have to be physically prepared to do certain things, emotionally prepared to do certain things. And what I've learned about myself, especially over the last month, is that the one that I'm best at to push myself is physical. So like I can work all day physically, doing something physical, whether it's in my yard or it's like outside of, you know, my little area here. But I can push myself from like the wee hours of the morning till the early, you know, till early evening, you know, like a good 12 to 14 hour day of physical pushing. Now, why is that good to know? Because when you think about the things that you have to do that you're creating in your life, when you categorize them and say, well, this requires a lot of physical activity, this requires a lot of mental activity, this requires a lot of emotional activity. When you think about that and you know which areas are your strongest, you could condense what needs to be done. Now, granted, 12, 14 hour day is not a condensing, but what I mean is that if you know you have so much to do and it's probably going to take you days to do it, you could, if you push yourself, you could get a lot done and achieve a lot in that one huge 12 to 14 block. Okay. Because what I've learned about myself is, so let's say I'm networking and then I come home and I have paperwork to do and I have projects to work on. And then I got to do a little bit of work in the yard. I find that if I don't do it in the right order, if I if, if I don't do it in the right order and if I push myself too much in a certain thing, I won't be able to do other things. Like, for instance, if I did the physical in the morning, my mental capacity is not good at the end of the day. So let's say I decide, oh, well, the weather is like going to be nice right now, but it's not going to be nice later. I'm going to have to do that right now. So I go outside and I push myself, and then there she is. Oh, look at her. She looks like a movie star. So let me just finish my comment and then we'll get going. So I found that I, discovering myself, pushed myself to do certain things in the morning and then know that I can end my day, or just do one thing in one day. So one mental thing, one emotional thing, and one physical thing. I've got to tell you, you look fantastic.
Thank you. I feel it.
There's no doubt. There's no
Yes.
doubt. You got your hair did. You got, look at you. You look like you right. She looks like she lost 10 years. You
Thank you. That's beautiful. Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita. I am in Santiago de Compostela. I finished my camino on Saturday.
Hey, good for you.
Walked in, pushed,
Congratulations.
pushed the last 3 days. Just walked 20 to 25 kilometers from one end. Just pushed it. And then we decided to stay the night 5 kilometers from here, just so we can leave at 8 o'clock in the morning and walk into Santiago, beautiful and early. But there was a festival, so we sent our packs ahead, and the guy kept calling that he couldn't leave it there because they had, the where cars couldn't come into that area because of the festival. So I said, well, how long? He's like, more than 2 hours. I said, where's your next stop? He said, Santiago. I said, just leave it. Let me know what hostel. And we pushed that extra 5 kilometers, got here at 3 p.m. And a lot of pain until the next day. A lot of pain, but we did it. So that was,
Congratulations. How do you guys feel? Like, how do you feel? How does Iritza feel?
Edita cried. She got very emotional. And it's just, you don't feel it. I don't know for every program, but you don't feel it as soon as you walk in. It's like a day or so. Um, Afterwards, that you're walking through the town, the village, and you're seeing all the people you've met since the beginning, and then that's when you start feeling it. You start feeling the accomplishment. You start feeling. Everybody expects to walk into Santiago and see the cathedral and be filled with this knowing of why they did it. I don't know. I'm not phased by it. I met other pilgrims. I said I didn't feel nothing. Everybody said I was supposed to feel something. You feel it. Everybody feels it in different steps. But it was amazing. Last night we had drinks, And then we went karaoke till like almost 4 in the morning with a crew that we met several weeks ago. And when we met, they're from England. And I said, "Are you getting married?" She goes, "Well, no, he's not, hasn't asked. We've been together 7 years." And he said, "If it's not broke, don't fix it." So he's like, she says, "We're okay the way we are." Well, as soon as they arrived in Santiago yesterday, they're in front of the cathedral taking pictures. And he's like, "Where's our packs?" And she turned around. And when she's like, "They're right there," he was on one knee with the proposal. It was
Oh,
beautiful. And so that's who
oh.
we were with last night. And they can drink. Amos and Ann, they can, the whole crew that was with them, Australians, we had
Oh yeah,
Portuguese.
Australians could drink. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no question.
And then we had the English, and then we had one from southern Spain, Mallorca, and we have one from Quebec, Canada, and then of course Iris and I. And we just karaoke till that time. And then we had I can't whisper to save my life. We had to come in real quietly because we're staying in a dorm. Where we stay here is a dorm. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
So what was the total amount that you both walked?
We have to get our compost. We haven't gotten our compostela yet. We should go tomorrow. We're going to finish there in Murcia, which is the end of the world, and get our final stamps, and then come back. And that's an extra 114 kilometers from here to go there. I'm not walking it. I'm not even gonna say I'm gonna bus it. But I think I'm gonna spend the night in Murcia. It's a very spiritual place, so we're gonna spend the night there. And then when we come back, it should be roughly, because we picked up where we left off, it should be roughly 679, so 700 kilometers total that we've done.
Wow.
But still, coming from Saint Jean, like where we started, I don't know if they're gonna add that or they're gonna add the May date. So that's what we're gonna find out as well. Because if they add it from when we started in December, then it's over 790 kilometers.
Okay, so 790. Of
It's like
course.
500 miles.
Yes. Yep.
Mhm. So we're hoping that they add them, because they are on the same like passport, pilgrim's passport, with all the stamps of everywhere you went. So I mean, we ran out of place. We are halfway done on our second pilgrim's passport from all the places we've been. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty eye opening. It's I the cathedral didn't overwhelm me, but you know how I feel about churches. But the whole walk in itself, I feel the change. I feel a lot of changes coming.
Aww.
All good. They're all good. They're all for self
So
growth.
just to give people an example. So if Gladiator Guru were to walk from where she's living now in Connecticut, if she were to walk to Washington D.C. and then back from Washington D.C., that's approximately the mileage that you did. So if you
Wow.
walked to Washington D.C. and then back, maybe it might be a little bit. No, let me see. Yeah, that's actually 266 to so it's a little bit more. So I guess it'd probably be like walking from Greenwich, Connecticut to Washington D.C. and then back again.
That's amazing. One thing I love, even when I'm walking at home, that I do 30 minutes one way and 30 minutes back, I hate the return trip. I hate the boomerang effect. So I think what I'm going to do is just walk from Shelton to my sister's house in Ansonia and then have her drive me back. I just hate the turnaround. I did that so much in Florida. And then when you do the Camino, there's never back spacing. You get up the
Yeah.
next day and you're moving forward.
Well,
You
you
get up.
could do a circle. You could do a circle. I mean, maybe is it that you're that it's good morning. So one of my family members is on. Wonderful. Good morning, Michelle and Julie. Is it when you're like, could you walk from, I mean, I know, getting back to your point, you don't want to go back to the same point that you started at. I get it. Yeah. But it's too bad you can't just find like a different route and then walk it.
Oh, walking up to Ansonia, there's a lot of hills.
Yes, true enough.
So
Yep.
I can always walk with my sister
Not as
and
pretty though.
have her come back home, and I'll make her coffee as a gift for driving me back home. I mean, you never know. Things can
It's,
happen. Gail, yes, absolutely. And I heard there's a huge change happening now in June. But yeah, and this Camino was so different from all the other ones. Like Iris and I really walked our own Caminos. Like we would start off walking, and then I'm off, and I would, whenever we entered the village we were staying, or if we were, taking a break in between villages, it's always the first cafe upon entering the village. So we didn't lose each other this time. Um, so she got to have her alone time, her growth time, her, you know, spiritual healing time. So I'm very grateful for my life. I'm very grateful for making things happen, for pushing and saying, I know everybody has this going on, but this is what I'm doing for me so that then it can better you when I
yeah.
return. And that's where I'm at.
Yep. Well, and
So
that's
we get,
the most, that's what it's all about, it's the journey, and it's what are you going to come back with? You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you guys had such a wonderful time. I mean, it's wonderful. And
I got sick a lot.
but she
Uh,
pushed through. But she pushed through.
you know, with gentle reminders, because until we learn how to eradicate, destroy, evict, remove habits, we're gonna always fall back into it until we're tired of it. Like walking down the street, I saw a hole. Um, but when she walked, the day I chose not to walk because my cough was so bad, and it ended up being the worst weather. So I'm glad I followed my instincts. But she walked one of the most difficult climbs, and it was only 13 kilometers, but it was up, 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 up.
In bad weather and by
It
yourself.
rained and sleet. The wind that day told the rain, you pelt and I'll push right in her face. And that's exactly what happened. And she did it. And thank you, Catherine. And when she made it, I'm like, I assumed she was going to come crying. Iris is emotional. She walked in and said, it was the most beautiful walk because the universe, and like they say, the Camino provides. Right when it first started sleeting, really, really heavy rains, there was a wooden cabana with benches where she went in out of the rain, like in the middle of nowhere. And then she said it stopped and she started walking, and then it came up again as she was getting closer. But to hear her say it was the most beautiful walk, you can just feel. You don't hear her mindset clicking in a different direction. You felt her path changing. And that's
Yeah.
what's beautiful.
Well, and that's the beauty to take from this, because see, life is never going to be sunshine. It's never going to be perfect weather. It's never going to be exactly how you want it. And the fact that you can still push through and that the universe provides, I think that's so cool that the universe managed to provide that shelter for her when she needed it. But the reality is that it's not so much that the universe provided, or depending on your practice, God provided it, you provided it, because you are in alignment, or you are connected to the universal collective, the higher source, your higher power, and then you're grounded. So you will have what you need. And then if you don't have what you need, you can create what you need. And I think that we tend to forget that piece of it, is that we sort of say, oh my God, this is, never going to happen. It's never possible. I can't do this. But when you do, the way the law of attraction works is that you're correct. No matter whatever you're thinking, whatever you're saying, you are correct. So if you say it's never going to happen, you are correct. If you say that it can happen, that I will get this, you are correct. But you have to align with what you're mentally saying, what you're feeling, and what you're doing. And that's why we've been prepping all of you to really force this year. We said this all last year, but now we're really making you say, every year we get a little bit older. And if we sit there and say, oh, I can't, I'm too old, Gladiator Guru could have said that. I mean, she and I are just a couple of years apart. We're not spring chickens, but we're not, we're not in the grave yet either. That's just it. But so we can sit there and say, oh, well, it's too late. I can't do that walk. Gladiator Guru, how many people did you see on that were struggling to even physically do the Camino, but they kept going?
I'll tell you of two that just changed a lot in me. There was one man with Parkinson's and one man on crutches with one leg. So when I hear people say, I can't, I tried, I don't know, that's when I said, some people I can't allow to exhaust my energy on, because that's their mindset, and it's fine. No judgment, but I have to leave you where I meet you.
Yeah.
Because when you come to Europe and you got people who traveled as well as I did to come here with one leg and crutches, and the other one with Parkinson's, and his wife, them climbing up the mountains. And when I first met them, it was going down El Acebo, which was a horrible, where Iris fell. Remember the day of the show?
Yes.
Horrible, horrible decline, all rocks. And he's leaning on her. And they were in their 60s. So, and an 80-year-old man, no, he was from Japan, but and singing at the places. But let me tell you, you said something, and then Catherine wrote something. You can create whatever you want, but you have to have a higher understanding. And I think creation is always present for us. But the question really is, are we ever present in our own lives to notice the things that are being provided for us along our way?
That's
not
correct.
To get fear, but to add understanding and appreciation and gratitude to our lives. So Iris, if she was too busy, covered up, walking with her head down in that sleep, she wouldn't have looked to the side to see that. And then she would have complained the whole way. But maybe because that was there, that little respite was there, that protection, that it gave her more energy to complete it. So when it started sleeting again, and the worst incline is right before you got to the village we were at, she was like, it was such a beautiful walk. So there's a scripture that says, lean not on your own understanding, because we are our own poison, with our thoughts, thinking we can create and we could divine and we can do all this. There's always something bigger than us that we cannot see, but we must have the faith and just trust in. Because if I'm going to walk in my truth, what's my truth? Like, I have to believe there's something bigger guiding me. So in this Camino, I didn't fall once. I'm going to write the greatest review for my uncloud sneakers, because I didn't get not one blister. Iris got 3. Of course, my arthritic pain, like when we came in on Saturday, I was in so much pain I wanted to cry, just on from my hip all the way down to my ankle. The next day, my feet were swollen so bad they were purple on Sunday. But, it's like, and then they were okay. And you do what you have to do. But I have to have trust in something bigger than me. Because when I'm walking the meseta and you're alone with your thoughts, who are we talking to? Who are we bouncing off ideas and questions? And how do we, at the end of the night, have this like euphoric revelation, like, oh, okay, so this is what I was saying to myself today. It's clear now to me. I know me. I ain't that wise. I'm not no sage yet. There's always some kind of input coming into my soul. So to be creative is beautiful, but the creation is present. Is up to us to reach for it and thrive within it, and then push it, like the month of June. So yeah.
Right.
So yeah, those were the two badass. If you would have seen it, I'm gonna actually. Someone did take a picture of them and put it on the Camino site. And this man had just finished 21 kilometers. Do you know there were days when me and Iris quit at 15 because we're like, we can't do another step. Fuck a kilometer. So and to see this and just to admire it and say, you know what? I'm gonna cheer for you because I'm stopping here. Why? Because when you learn who you are, you know what your limits are, and it's not a competition, whether you're on the Camino or at work. Know who you are, know what you're comfortable with. No, today I'm not going to go as far as I went yesterday and that I may go tomorrow. But today, this is my limit. When we trust in that within ourselves, then we can push ourselves the next day. Why? Because we're storing energy. We know that if we continue, we're going to be spent. We're going to have a terrible night of sleep. We're going to wake up moody. We're not going to be as productive. So when you learn to value who you are and know what your limits are, with not even looking outside of you as to who's doing what, when, and why, then you're charging yourself. And then the next day you can go that extra mile and complete those goals, write out those visions and push yourself with your deadline, whatever deadline you set. But know thyself enough to know that it's okay if I don't go all the way today because I gotta conserve my energy, my mood. I
Yes.
gotta clear everything. I worked so hard yesterday that I'm bombarded. I didn't delete those files. Were sitting there. They're starting to archive, and my data's getting full. So today I'm just gonna stop right here, and I'm gonna start purging what I no longer need.
And
We
the
must do that. Go
and
ahead.
and see, here's the key. When you know yourself, there'll be those days where you do have to sit and take it in and purge. Okay, make room. Understand what came into you, but then you also know yourself to know the days that you can push yourself. Like when Gladiator Guru was talking about, she sent me a text message or something stating like how far they had walked the other, like last week, like the chunks. So there's days where you're like, you know what? I've got to push myself. I've got to go the further distance this go round because I've got to. I've got to do it. And I know I can do it. I'm resilient. I know I can do it. And I'm going to push myself. So every morning when you get up, take that time to say, what is today going to be like? It's setting that intention. This is what I want today to be like. My intention is to push myself to do this, to go with the flow, to flow in that direction, to know my personal power, to know when, be guided throughout the day, to know when I need to take the break, to know when I can keep going, and know when I need to redirect if I have to redirect. Like if let's say you set your sights on doing something specific today towards your goals, towards whatever it is that you want to achieve, and then something gets thrown in the midst, because we never know what's going to happen.
No.
To be able to shift and flow so that you can still be moving forward. Because look, when you have children, when you have grandchildren, when you have pets, when you have other people and situations that do rely on you, you don't know day to day if everything that you planned is going to go accordingly. And I, especially being a parent, especially, even though I'm an older person, being a parent to a 20-year-old and a 10-year-old, that happens. I have a whole thing planned out, and then all of a sudden one will say, "Oh, I need this." And you're like, okay, and have that planned, but it's one of those things where you just say, okay, I need to just move here, and then I'm going to move back here. And you can make, the other thing that I learned is that you can decide things. You could say, well, okay, I can't do it right at that time, or we'll do it right now. But when we get back, can you help me with this? Because I now that I'm behind a little bit, I need help with this. And it's about communicating, but again, it's about knowing self. It's like, this is my overall goal. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I'm moving forward with. And I've got to keep going. And even if something throws me off, like yesterday was a very, very long, physically long day. I don't regret it. It actually felt really good, but it started at like 8 in the morning and it didn't end until about 8:30 at night. And I got in and I was like, oh God, there's two things that I had to take care of. Like there was two emails that came in. One of them was from like 4 days ago. And I had to make a decision on something. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? One of them was creating the StreamYard for this. I hadn't done it. So I'm like, okay, I have to do it because I'm not going to be able to do it in the morning. I have something that I've got to do at 7 a.m. and I'm not going to be rushing to do this. I said, okay. So I throw some stuff into the pot. Actually, no, I take it back. This was a little earlier in the day, but then I went back and did some more. So I'm making dinner. And then I'm like, while I put my timer on and I'm like, so I don't forget about it. And I come and I do the StreamYard. And then I go back in there and I'm doing the dinner. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me do this. So as soon as I finished dinner and everybody was eating, I came and did this other thing, you know. And in my mind, it's like I waited on this one thing for 4 days. And it literally took me like 15 minutes, you know, not even, I don't think. And in my head, I'm going, you know, had I just done it the day that I received it, you know, but I wasn't mentally prepared to work it because it was a mental thing. I wasn't able, like, I looked at myself and said, I cannot focus on this. I cannot focus on this. And then I looked at it and said, is this life or death? Is this a big deal? And I said to myself, nope, it's not. However, last night, it was like, okay, I can't wait any longer because the person texted me and said, did you get a chance to look at this yet? And I was like, oh, no, you know, let me, and I didn't answer. I just said, you know what? I have to look at it now. So I made the time and I knew, even though I was physically tired, I'm like, you know what? I got a little capacity left. This is doesn't require a lot of mental stuff. It's just a quick, you know, look it over kind of deal. And then it's done. So now I just checked 2 of those things off, 3 things off the list yesterday. So it's about pushing yourself beyond what you believe is possible, but also knowing, hey, you know what? I could go a little slower today, or I could go a little faster today and just work for a few hours. But it's when you're going through that head going, well, I just can't do this, so I'm not going to put that much effort into it. You know, Gladiator Guru could have said, you know, I want this to be my goal. I'm going to do this many, you know, I'm going to go from here to there. But, you know, that's my goal. I'm going to get there by this date. And then 2 days in, she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not feeling it. I don't really want to do this. I'm just whatever. And she could have been in a bad headspace, but she decided, no, I've got to keep pushing forward. This is a metaphor for what she's going to do moving forward. Same thing with Iritsa. It's a metaphor. It's you're pushing yourself beyond your physical capacity. And don't think that type of thing doesn't also hit your mental and emotional self. You know, when you're cold, when you're tired, it affects you mentally, but it affects you emotionally. When you get to that destination, it affects you emotionally. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm here and there's a release. I got from point A to point B and I did it and I'm hurting. And look at Iritsa, you know, look at both of them. Iritsa got sick. Iritsa hurt herself. Gladiator Guru got sick, but they kept going. They decided, if I need to go from here to there, today I might not be able to walk. So I can move forward in a different direction, but I'm still moving forward. Was that a setback for either of them? No. You know, some other people might say, well, if you took a car or you took a taxi and, you know, then you didn't really walk it. Well, but that's your thought. That's your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, I looked at it and said, I cannot physically go because I can't do this physically because I'm not feeling well. However, I do need to get to that destination. So
and that's okay. And that's okay, because what happens is we did skip an etapa when Iris's knee was really bad for the 3 days. That would have set us back. So, and I feel fine with it. And Iris was so concerned that she was, you know, stopping me from walking. One, I could have went ahead. But the thing is, we came together, and although we didn't have to walk together, it was came together, and that's just how I am. If we came together, we leave together. And I wasn't, because this Camino wasn't about I'm gonna walk 500 miles. It was more about being present. And as Catherine said something, and you know what? Sometimes you must take a pause to really realize the blessings around you, the blessings in people and places. And when we would take those little pauses at cafes, we would meet people that
Yep.
one of them, we're walking yesterday, trying to find a hairdresser, and we hear somebody say Boricuas, right? And we turn around, and it's this kid we met early on in the Camino. And I was like, how does a Puerto Rican end up in Idaho? So that was always the joke. And met his wife, who was walking with him later on. So he's running out of the tattoo shop, and he just runs up and gives you this beer hug. And it was like you can feel the love. And we never had a really deep conversation. It was a connection because we were Puerto Rican, and just the energy we both, all three of us, gave each other on the first meeting, the second meeting, and everything. And he's like, "Yeah, we leave at 4 today, but we're getting a tattoo, and I'm getting this, and there was a lady that's staying here. She was talking with Iris, and she was like, "Oh my God, you just met, like the excitement and the energy." And that's what the blessings are. When you stop at cafes, or when you decide, I know it's only 1 o'clock, but I ain't walking nowhere else. We're gonna get a room here tonight. And that's where you meet the most amazing people.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Catherine, we you know what? There's no, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in maktub. And I believe that if we just slow down sometimes and just sit back, they will come. We're going to be presented with people. Either we're going to walk up and bump into somebody, oh, sorry, and then we're going to end up talking. It doesn't matter how. But the thing is, take the time to talk. Because remember, I always say this on the show, when you meet a stranger, but it's a familiarity about them, either you're the messenger or you're there to receive a message. And none of you know you are carrying this universal message for one another. But everybody's in such a damn rush. And just wanted to say, Catherine's on a roll. Madeline, that's true about we're allowed, but it was just one thing, and then we can read them, Laura. But she says something about confidence. Catherine did, and I believe we all have the confidence, but I believe we've all been like society in prisons, where if I act like this, they're gonna say I'm conceited. Well, so what? Let them, because there's a thing that's been going on. I love it, and I know I'm gonna mess it up because it's not verbatim, but it says, confidence for you equals conceitedness to others.
Yeah.
I'm constantly being accused of being aggressive. I am not aggressive. I am just very assertive. Um, if you're direct, you're labeled as rude.
Yes.
If you're honest, then you're mean. You're never going to satisfy anybody. So take all that love and feed it right back into yourself. And then set boundaries. Push that boundary. And then when people are like, oh, you're conceited. No, I'm just very aware of who I am. You don't have to say, I'm just very aware of who I am. People laugh when I say I'm awesome and I'm magical. And, what's the problem with that? And people, like, they will look at me like I'm retarded or something. And the thing is that I am that. And you're never going to know unless you know me. So if you don't know me, I'm going to introduce myself to you. So, boom, right off rip, you're going to know, oh, that's Margarita, the awesome chick. That's right. You got it, baby girl.
The other, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so what I'm saying is stop worrying about the world outside of you, especially if you're on that cultivating self journey. Remember, the weeding your garden, all of that falls into play. Stop focusing on everyone outside of you and just breathe in that beauty of who you are and figure out what you need to change. That's all. It's all on you. It's you, and you. Go ahead.
When we take those moments too to really connect with people without judgment, like if you only limit yourself to the people that you feel are worthy, you're going to limit yourself tremendously, because everyone has something to offer. And it could be that, you just met a jerk, and what they're offering is the fact that you're learning more about people. You're saying, well, I don't want to be around that type of person. But when you shift your energy too, and you are open to any and all possibilities, people catch that. It's just like that guy that got so excited, they just met. It's not that they just met, it's their energies were connected from the first time they met. And those energies were just sitting in, the atmosphere, connected that whole time walking, which is why it was so exciting for that guy to see her again, because it was like, oh my God, I missed you, even though you only met the one time. But that's the way it works. It's like when you feel you meet somebody that you only met once before, and then all of a sudden you're like so excited that they're there, and they're excited that you're there because you connected on a much deeper level. And the only way to experience that is to allow yourself to be open to that. And I think it's so cool to where, Gladiator Guru's done this Camino more than once, and she will tell you that, like, there's people that she connected from the very first one that she still talks to. Like, what does that tell you? But it doesn't have to, go to another country to connect. You can do that right in your own, where you live. You can go on vacation and connect with people. It's like over the weekend, I had a very interesting thing. So we had to, and this is so funny compared to what Gladiator Guru's going through or has gone through. It's like my minute stuff, because it's all local. It's all like little petty stuff, but it's not, So my daughter has been nursing 2 baby cardinals because they fell out of the nest, right? So we had to actually put them in a cage for now because they outgrew their little thing. They were starting to fly out. So I'm like, okay, now I got to get a cage. So I went on a Facebook Marketplace. I found somebody that was selling it in the next town over. And of course, I go and see this person, and then we start chatting. See, this is the whole thing. We start to chat. Here I am just to pick up a bird cage. And then we start chatting. And the lady's like, oh my God, I feel like I've known you forever. Like, our energies are connected. And I was just going, that's so interesting. Like, I didn't expect her to say that. And gave her my card, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to, definitely reach out to you and blah, blah, blah. And because I told her a little bit about what I do, and she's like, oh my God. And it was so interesting. It's like, who knew, going to pick up the bird cage, right? So then Sunday, I signed up for an herbal class. It was taught by a woman who's Native American. That's her, she doesn't look Native American, but she's her background. Grew up in the mountains here, and she was talking about indigenous plants, to where you can go in your yard and what they mean and how to make tinctures and all this great stuff. So it was a phenomenal 2-hour class. The people that I met were great. I brought my cards, I always have my cards with me, never thinking that, I would be handing out my cards, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm handing out my cards. Like, I'm right up the street, blah, blah, blah. And one lady, like Gladiator Guru said, sometimes you have to just talk. You have to make the time. In my head, I have this whole agenda of all the things that I still needed to do on Sunday. I have to do this and I have to do that. And I'm going to this class and I have to make sure I'm home by this time because I have to do this. And I just threw my hands up, and this lady and I just started talking after in the parking lot for like 30 minutes. So I just threw my hands up and said, you know what? There was a reason we connected. It may not go anywhere, but I gave her my card. There was a reason we connected. And you know what? Whatever I was planning on doing when I got home, it will work out, and I will find the time to do it. And that's exactly what happened. Instead of coming home and doing what I had intended to do, I did not have enough time. I did something else. And then the time presented itself on Monday. Like, it opened up all of a sudden. It's like I had a couple of cancellations, and I was like, wonderful. It opened up that time. So it's sometimes the universe is telling you have got to stop, and you've got to connect, and you've got to redirect. And then it'll free up the time. So when we force it, not saying all the time, sometimes when you do force yourself and push yourself beyond, it will still work out. But if you're pushing yourself and forcing something, and you keep hitting roadblocks, and it's like something else is getting in, stop for a minute. and sit down and say, even though I got to get this done, I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes and let me see if this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Because if it's not what I'm supposed to be doing right now, then please redirect me. So, and then make the time at a different day or later so that I can finish the project that I was working on. And when we do that, we're trusting in ourselves, we're trusting in the universe, we're trusting in our higher power. And it will open up and allow you to shift where things will flow so much better. Instead of fighting and saying, "My God, I have to have this done today. Why is nothing working?" You got to step away from it. That's why I always like having multiple things to do, because if this one's not working right at this moment in time, then I'm going to shift to this other one, because maybe this is where I need to be. And at least I'm accomplishing something. The frustration for me definitely comes in when I'm not, like, I have a whole bunch of stuff to do and I got nothing done today. That's because I allowed it. So I allowed something to get in the way, and then I kept allowing that stuff to redirect me, instead of saying, you know what, where do you need me to be today? And sometimes it's, I have to stop what I'm doing and just sit and be with my kids. There was one night that happened last week where I had to just be mom. They were really needing to be around me, the both of them, and we just sat and we watched a show together, and it was great. Instead of me saying, "Oh, I got to do this and I got to do that," they wanted that time, and I needed that time. And again, the next day, I got the stuff done that I needed to get done.
Well, we have to get out of our own way. Like, if to be present in your now doesn't mean you got to be busy. Remember, being busy and being are two totally different things. And we feel that we're working our business, we're doing this, we're gonna grow it by being busy. Busy means being under Satan's yoke. You just always which you can take Satan as however you want, but it's always in a negative. You're always busy in something outside of you instead of just being. So sometimes you just need to say, that's it, no más. Hoy se acaba. Today, that's it. This is all I'm going to do. I'm going to go watch that show. Come on, girls, let's get some popcorn. Because when you do that, it's like you're rewiring, you're recharging. And when you go back to what you have to do, the ideas start popping out. You can't force anything in life, not even your thoughts, not your energy, not your willpower. You can't force it. You have to, your five senses have to be awakened with you first thing in the morning for you to flow into everything that you want to do throughout that day. Forcing it, you're not flowing. There's no flow. There's nothing natural. You're repeating what you heard. You're doing what you think because you saw a video of someone else. It's not coming from you. So it's never going to sit right even when it's done. So I just think that push for what you know you can do and then be better than that. Life is so simple. People are like, oh, life is hard. And we met a couple people, like we had a whole group here the morning after we arrived. It's a whole bunch of them. And they weren't very pleasant. But one of the guys came out here to have a cigarette with us. We're having our coffee out here. He's talking to us and he's very nice. And he explains that they all did the 5-day walk from Tui, Spain, which is over the bridge from Portugal. And it's a group. They're from different parts of Spain, but they're all parents of children who had cancer. Lost their children that were here. And some of them, like the guy who was talking to us, his daughter had cancer at 6. They had to remove a kidney. She's 25 now. So he says it was nice meeting everybody who shared something in common. And, to have that little insight of thing, it just filled me with so much joy because, we forget what we've triumphed over. And I was like, wow. I said, my granddaughter had the worst kind of leukemia at age 6. And she's 21 now and very productive in her life. And so we just shared. He called his wife over. We were sharing, and it was a beautiful moment. And then she said, I think we started talking about depression and people giving up, and she like was grateful that we opened up to a conversation, because again, we were the teacher, student, and they were the teacher and the student.
Yes.
So we both walked away from one another as they left, and they hugged and kissed us goodbye. Those were the only two, and that would have never happened had this
Yeah.
man come out and we said buenos dias, you know, and smiled, because a smile is like, hello, I'm open to
Yes.
receive you, you know.
Yes.
So and that's the things you learn, that it's okay to sit here, that it's okay to doodle all over my paper as we're talking, that it's okay to say, I just want to go sit by the cathedral and clap for everybody coming in with their backpack, you know, that, yay, you made it, because that fills me with joy. But
Yeah.
you know how when somebody walks in and they're exhausted and they really want to appreciate walking in, and they hear strangers, yay, congratulations, you did it. That's just such a boost, and it
Yes.
costs us nothing.
Nothing.
And the thing is, when you're content, like Gail said something, and we're
Yeah, I'm
sorry,
gonna put.
everybody who has written comments, we have read them, but I think we're on such a flow today that is so beautiful. Hello, Diana.
Yes, we're in a minute. We'll read right through them because there's great stuff.
Gail wrote something, and Gail, that's what I believe. You know, that when someone interprets me, I am responsible for what I say. I am not responsible how you perceive what I said.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you want to get defensive, you better swallow that shit. Cause don't throw it back at me, because whoop, I'm not accepting it. You know, because your assumptions on what you want, you took my words, and in that quick, you did a cat move and balled up that yarn in a whole different knotted way, and now you're gonna try and throw it back. So you're absolutely right. I totally believe that I am not responsible for how you take what I said. You want to talk about it? How did it make you feel? I didn't trigger you. That's unresolved issues you are avoiding. Do not put that on me. And that's how I tell people, we're not doing this. Why? Because I honor myself, and I'm not your garbage disposal. And to love yourself is to truly understand. Oh, look at that. No, we are worthy. We are worthy to defend and protect ourselves. Always leaving the door open for understanding, because sometimes we can get caught up in our own shit. For understanding, like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a little more flexible on this. I meant, you know, whatever the situation is, but you got to be open enough to know that we must flow with boundaries that are not so rigid.
Let's read some comments. So some of them will pertain to what we had said earlier, but they're all great comments. So Madeline has, there are many ways of getting through the Camino. The inspiration is something neither of you can imagine. Correct. You both have inspired my personal journey, and I'm on this side of the world. Oh, look at that. See, so Gladiator Guru is inspiring. Chanel said, she didn't say fuck it. I love that. Migdalia says, you guys are spitting truth today. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear that. It really is. Actually, it's such a powerful statement. Gail says, I've learned that the way someone interprets my actions is a reflection of where they are coming from and has little to do with me. Madeline says, my responsibility is to be open to learn from others, to be me, and allow myself to be all of me. If they are, for me, that's awesome. If they aren't, I get that. It's okay too. Yes, absolutely. And by the way, this morning gift, this is my morning gift to myself, because this tribe always teaches me so much, and you do as well. You know, like that's the whole point, is every time all of you comment, you add to this, because we say something, you all interpret it and then say it in your own way, and it could be just slightly different, but it's the same, but it resonates better with somebody else. That's why it's so important for everybody to share. Chanel says, love you, drive safely. It's International Women's Golf Day, so I'm off to represent women in heart disease. Good for you. Gail says, I always get a cancellation when I'm crunched for time. Always. That's awesome. Being present for me is sitting in my truth.
All day.
Catherine says, being alive doesn't mean you are living. I love that statement. I saw that before.
Especially if you are not vivaing.
You're not vivaing. Being present in the moment with your family is best feeling. Okay, Desiree wrote something real long. I agree so much with this. I have a list of daily things I need to do. If those things don't get done today, they shift in tomorrow or later in the week. I was invited out with my cousin yesterday last minute. I dropped my other stuff and went. So many lessons in the day. It was a great day all around. Yeah, I stopped making a today to-do list. I make a list of the things that I have to do for the week. So if I can't get it done, because inevitably I add about 10 extra things that weren't even on the list that I ended up doing. So, and sometimes just for my own little mental thing, you know, I love check boxes. I like checking off, yep, I did it, or crossing it off. There's something little, you know, and it's a little nerdy thing, but that's my thing. And I'm not asking anybody else to do that. Just, I love doing that. So sometimes I'll add more. You know, like if I did extra stuff that wasn't on the checklist, I'll add it and then check it off or cross it off, you know. Gail says, if I think life is hard, then it is. If I think life is a game and is fun, it is. Right. Les Brown said that life is simple, but let me see. No, what do you say? Life is simple, but we make it harder than it has to be. But life is not complicated. Life is simple. We make it more complicated. But no one said life is easy though. That's just it. Life is simple, but it's not easy. And so sometimes even with the simplicity, things will be challenging. But the more you align yourself with your own truth, and you know, and knowing like those universal truths that life is simple, life can be challenging, but I'm there, I can shift, I can do, then things will be less complicated, things will be easier or seemingly so. Madeline says it's the same in business. When I try to multitask, I get distracted and make more mistakes because I am not present. Gail says, oh, that was when you're putting your thumbs up and stuff. Your Mac agrees. Desiree says, I do that too. I do it. Okay. And then Catherine says, you ladies were my shelter throughout my storm and now able to slowly learn myself. And it's a beautiful experience. Oh, Catherine, scary to see, but what a great addition to my progress. Grateful. It is scary. But then when you can admit that and say, you know what, this is scary, but I'm still going to go down that. I'm still going to do it.
Well, it's like I don't know if it was from Les Brown, but I had to say that life is simple. The choices we make in our lives are complicated. But because a lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable to what they've created in their life, they want to blame something outside of them. Yeah, life is not easy because we have a lot of choices to make in this life. To me, that's what doesn't make it easy. Should I eat the cheeseburger or should I eat a salad? You know, if I eat the cheeseburger 7 days a week, guess what's going to happen? My life is going to get more complicated. And I say that because everybody knows that's my favorite meal. But so life is, and when you get up every morning, if you are not saying thank you, thank you, thank you for another day of life, and wake up your five senses and say, you know what, today's gonna be great because I'm gonna be present in it. Not because it's gonna offer you anything, but because I'm gonna be present. And when you are present, you are learning. And when you learn, what do? You grow and you become more attached to yourself because you are allowing yourself to learn something. And then from that lesson, you are actually growing. So, why is life hard? Because of your choices. And choices can be changed. And then life can also be altered as well. But it's all up to you. The bottom line, it's like I always said, it's really up to what we choose to do. And Badass Buddha spoke a lot about if your environment is toxic, you got to find a way out of it. She said that I think 3 years ago on the show, or when the beginning of the show, she was talking about environmental, how the environment affects us and how what we can do. Like if we can't leave that environment, then it's the mindset, right? Okay, this is what's happening. There's nothing I can change, but I can change my little corner in the room.
Yeah.
I can create a sanctuary in that little spot that I have, whether it be a little colorful pillow on the floor, a little footstool to be where you put your books and you sit there. I mean, There are things we can do with no money,
Yes.
little money, with little space,
You
with
have to
borrowed
try.
space. Yeah, you have to,
You
because
have to
it's
try.
you. And
Because sometimes, and this is what I've learned, you can, once you decide that and where you are and say, I'm going to make the changes, you might know deep down that you do have to change the environment, but you can't, it's not financially possible, or it's not mentally or emotionally possible at this time. You will know because you've made all this great stride. You've surprised yourself. People are like, oh my God, you're a different person. But then all of a sudden, you don't make any more, you're not furthering yourself. You become stagnant. When you become stagnant, that's the universe telling you, you have got to make the next change. So for me, my massive growth came between 19, my massive growth came between 2016, after I got out of that ridiculous depression, summer of 2016 to the end of 2020. It was an incredible, massive mental, emotional growth in that 4 years. And then I refused to acknowledge the fact that I had to move on physically from where I was. So for 2021 and 2022, it was really hard for me. I became stagnant. I started to slip backwards, and I noticed it. But 2021, I didn't notice it. 2022, I started to realize it. And I knew I had to do something, but I still was terrified to do it because it meant so many changes for me. And that's when 2023 hit, and I said, this is it. Like this has to be done. And it's funny because my sister got this property in May. I was here at the end of May for a few days, was here for 6 weeks in the summer, and then moved in October with my kids. And just in that I feel like I've been here forever. I feel like I've been here forever. People I'll talk with, I'll be talking with them about stuff, and they'll be like, oh, when did you start your business? When did you move here? I said, October. It's not even a year yet. They're like, October? Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, like I already know so many people. I already have established myself. It's interesting. All the years I was in Connecticut, that I moved back in the end of 2000. In all those years, I barely established myself because I just didn't want to play. I didn't want to participate in my life. And that's the reality of it. It was on me, not anybody else. So I feel like I can breathe down here. So you make the changes, but then there will be a point where you have to decide, you might not need to change your environment. Your change might actually change the environment. But there might be times where you have to admit to yourself and say, I got to get out of here. Like I cannot grow any further. I've met my ceiling. And now for me to go take off further, I got to get out of here.
You have to, because if not, you're going to blame everybody around you.
Yes.
You are responsible for you. Congratulations. When I wrote my last blog on the metal, I wrote that until we meet again means that you ascended before me. It was your time. I am still here because I have a purpose to fulfill. When my time arrives, then we will meet on the meadow amongst the giggling daisies and embrace. So we are born, each one of us, like our fingerprints with our own purpose. So if we're stuck somewhere because of whatever, relationship, parenting, whatever the case may be, and it's toxic, it is not up to them to say, well, I'm going to open the door so you can leave and live it. No, it is up to you to make the changes that are for your life. Listen, we were talking about something, se me fue, but yes, because that was so good. When the circumstances, the environmental trauma, pain, and suffocation that comes when we choose to stay, we're choosing. It's a choice. That's when life becomes hard, ¿verdad? So it might take some longer than the other, but the end line is that you did it when it was right for you to do it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Start that planning process. I don't want to be here. Start talking to yourself. We can't be here no more. We got to do something. That just brought me to somewhere. But um, eh, damn it, I was gonna say something. Okay, it's gone. But I
It'll
just want.
come to you when we get off.
I know we're about to get off, but I just want to share a story because I said that about can't. Do you know? My daughter-in-law sent me some pictures of Savannah. Right now, everyone knows that Savannah's grandpa died in January, and he was her, you know, her Manny since she was born until she went into daycare at 2. And and they all lived together. So every time she'll come home from school, she would say, "Grandpa, I'm home." Right? She had to kiss him goodnight. She would sit with him or fall asleep with him, whatever. It was just a beautiful relationship. Well, throughout since January, she's been always saying, "I miss my grandpa," or the blue house is broke, the house that they all lived in. Um, had a really, really hard time going to the cemetery. All of this. So she has a picture album with all pictures of her and him. So Natalie sends me a picture of her in the bathroom holding the book, right, with pictures of her. And then she says, "I can't take it to watch her just crying." That she said, "He wasn't supposed to die. He wasn't supposed to die," right? It's 3 years old. So Natalie's like, "I think I need to take it to therapy." You know how we quickly jump fences. So then she sends me another picture where she's on the floor hugging her grandpa's dog that's now hers, the little Yorkie. And she records her and Savannah saying, "I know it's hard. We can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore." Like she's 3. So you have to allow people to feel what they feel. A 3-year-old, well, how else is she going to express how she feels?
That's
She can
incredible.
do it, but it's
Yes,
hard. But she because I always say my granddaughter's a gift. She's very spiritual. She's
she is.
different level,
She's
and
an old soul.
she feels so deep. Like she all those emotions. She it's like she weeps for the world because she's so caring. Except when I call her, she's like, "Grandma, I'm gonna call you back when I call you," type of deal. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, a 3-year-old has to learn that she can go on, but she also has to learn that it's okay to grieve, that it's okay to miss someone that she loved so deeply. So, I mean, when I get back, I have a lot that I want to do. And, there's no mistakes in this world. I came back on the Camino in May to finish it before Natalie goes off maternity leave. So, because, I'm the nanny, the granny nanny. And, and I believe that this was provided from me, from my Yahweh, so that I can reach such a deeper understanding, so my empathy can just be something that it's a knowledgeable flow, unspoken words that are that are felt loudly, that I could know what I have to do so that I can help heal my granddaughter and my son. And so this journey, when I tell you, like I said in the beginning, I can't even explain, but I know there's a lot of changes coming when I get back home.
Yay.
So to me, that's beautiful. And when you meet people where they are, you either can assist them, can guide them. As life coaches, we always want to fix shit, right? And or if you can't, if they're not willing to meet themselves halfway, then you're not even a mile that you can reach them. Then you have to leave them there because someone else is meant to help that person. And we got to learn to differentiate that we can't expect to be the savior for everybody. We can just speak our truths and hope that somewhere in the middle of whatever we're saying, it touches them, it pierces them. And then that's all they needed to hear. Because life is good and life is beautiful and it's full of blessings and surprises and greatness for each and every one of us. Why aren't we reaching for the stars?
I know, right? And celebrating it. All right, such beautiful insight today. So this is the month of June. It is ready, set, go. So today was get ready with a exclamation point and a question mark, because are you ready? Sometimes you just have to leap even though you're not ready. And so that's what we're asking you to do. So get ready. This is the Take Action Month. And we want you to just trust in the process, take that leap, and move forward and
Yes.
fall forward. Fail forward, fall forward, whatever you want to call it. That's
Just
fine.
go forward, coño.
Yep. All right. So thank you so much for being here today. We'll see you on Thursday's show. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from La Margarita, your amazing gladiator guru, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.